everyone. Today I wanted to do my book haul for our wrap up for November. So I read about 12, 13 books in November, so I'm glad of that. So a lot of them I read on audio, some I did both, some I had the physical copy. So the first one I did was Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. This is the first book in his space trilogy, and I'd wanted to read more of his books, so I read this one. It was pretty good. He gets a lot more descriptive in these books than like the Narnia books, and I liked his. I don't like a lot of description sometimes. I like story. So the first part of the book, like the first third of the book, is really fast paced, and I like that. But then the middle was pretty slow, and then the last part was a little more faster. So I'd give it maybe a 3 out of 3.5 stars out of 5. It is about this guy, and he just walks in at the wrong time of these two people who were his old college mates, and they made a deal with some aliens to send a human to their planet, and he ends up going to this planet and talking to the aliens and learning about them. So that's kind of the first book. So they're pretty short. They're only like, if you listen to it on audio, it's only like 5 hours maybe. So I'll probably go through the other ones just because they are so short. I did a lot of, this one I actually got on my Kindle, and it's Until the Last Star Fades by Jacqueline Middleton, and she is the author of the London duology that I really liked. So I got this one on my Kindle, read it. It was really cute. This is more of a older young adult or adult novel. It's about this girl. She is just very closed off. She doesn't let people really know what she's feeling, what she's thinking. She has this boyfriend, things seem to be going good, and but she's just hiding a lot of stuff inside. But then she meets this guy, and with this chance meeting at an airport bus, and they get to know each other, become friends, and it's really good. Really romantic. So if you like romance, you'll definitely like this one. Jacqueline Middleton, Until the Last Star Fades. I also listen to a lot of Jane Austen retellings, so here's a few of them. I'm reading a lot of Jane Austen retellings. The first one is Seeking Mansfield by Kate Watson. And Mansfield Park is probably one of my least favorite of Jane Austen's books. But I still enjoy it. And this one was an enjoyable read. It's a retelling of Mansfield Park, but it's set nowadays. And it's told through the two perspectives of the Fanny Price character and the Edmund Bertram character. So I thought that was pretty fun. So if you like modern ones, you'll like this. Modern contemporary stories, you'll like that one. Another modern contemporary one I read was Unleashing Mr. Darcy by Terry Wilson. This was made into a Hallmark movie. I think there was even like a second Hallmark movie, Marrying Mr. Darcy. So this is about a girl. It's very, very loosely based on Pride and Prejudice. About a girl. She does dog shows. One of the judges is Mr. Darcy. Things ensue. It was fun. It stays fairly close until the end to the movie, but it was enjoyable. The retelling I actually liked the best was actually Engaging Mr. Darcy by Rachel John. I haven't really heard of this, but then it popped up on my library library list, and I listened to it. I actually really enjoyed it. I found myself laughing out loud several times at this. It's basically, if you took Pride and Prejudice and just put it in modern times, some of the language you can tell it's kind of just modernized Jane Austen, which is pretty funny sometimes when you hear it, and it sticks pretty closely to the book. So this one was pretty enjoyable. This is one that I would not mind reading again. So engaging Mr. Darcy. And then I did some Christmas books, and one of the first Christmas books I did was a retelling of Pride and Prejudice again. So I did quite a few Pride and Prejudice retellings. Pride and Prejudice and Mistletoe by Melissa Dela Cruz. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. This is a gender swap Pride and Prejudice, so instead of so Darcy in this book is a girl, and the Elizabeth Bennet character is a guy, and she just comes off as very snooty instead of in like kind of the Pride and Prejudice book where she's just doesn't know how to get across. And there's just some weird couplings that happened. So, I mean, it was entertaining, but just not what I thought it would be. So, Pride and Prejudice and Mistletoe, I'd probably give it maybe a 2 or 3 out of 5. Some more Christmas books that I read was My True Love Gave to Me, 12 Holiday Stories, edited by Stephanie Perkins. So I think this came out a couple of years ago, and all these different authors came and wrote like little short stories about Christmas romance. I think my favorite in this one was the Rainbow Rowell one. I think the first story, I think it's called Midnight, and it is so cute, so sweet, but I have to say I usually don't like anthologies, but this one was actually pretty good, and I think I liked almost all of them, all of the story. Some of the authors are Matt De La Pena, Jenny Han, Holly Black, Stephanie Perkins, Rainbow Rowell, Lenny Taylor, Kristen White. I think the 2 ones I didn't really like were maybe the Allie Carter and Lanny Taylor one. The Lanny Taylor one was just way too descriptive for me and not a lot of story. I think my 2 favorite ones are definitely the Rainbow Rowell one, and I actually really like the Matt De La Pena story in this one. So if you read it, tell me which story out of all of them that you like the best. So, My True Love Gave to Me. Another anthology of Christmas stories I got was Snow and Love, with stories by Melissa Dela Cruz, Nick Stone, Amy Friedman, and Casey West. My favorite was the Casey West one. I'm glad it's the longer story out of all of these. It was just so cute. It's one that I would reread again because I love Casey West stories, and it's just so sweet and romantic and very Christmassy. The one I liked the least was probably the one by Nick Stone. I think I just didn't even finish it. It just didn't capture my interest. But here's another Christmas anthology one. Some more of the books I read was The School for Good and Evil, Book 3, by Simone Czerny. I was pleasantly surprised that I actually really liked this one. I liked the first one. The second one was pretty good, but this one actually I was listening to it on tape and I could not stop listening to it. It continues the story of Agatha and Sophie, and they are now enemies, and they have to kind of like have this fight, and they get fairy tale characters, like the actual fairy tale characters like Cinderella, Pinocchio, and all them, to fight alongside them, and you kind of find out what's happened to Cinderella and all them since they're happily ever after. So I thought this one was really good continuation in the series. I also read Grimm Lullabies by Megan Shepherd. This was the Lit Joy book. And I really enjoyed it. At first I wasn't sure what to think, but then I found out it was a duology. And then I was happier because it just seems like there's so much more that could go on in the book. And like so much more story. So I'm glad it's going to be a duology. The first one was very good. It's kind of a mix of fairy tales in our world. And this girl named Anouk, she has to... she was an animal who was turned into human, but she wants to stay human. And she has to kind of find the magic to do that. And she has some friends to come along with her. So it is pretty good. I would actually give this a 3 or 4 stars out of 5. And I finally read a book by V.E. Schwab, A Darker Shade of Magic. People have been talking about this book a lot, and I actually really enjoyed it. The first part of the book was a little slow, but then it picks up, and then you start to like remember the characters. I really like the character of Kale and Lila. They're just really kind of fun to read about together. This is a story. Kale, he's a guy who has magic, and he can go between different worlds. And there's 4 Londons. So there's like White London, Black London, Red London, Grey London, and each of them have their properties. So like, for example, Red London has magic, but Grey London does not. So just things like that. And there was a magic artifact that was taken, and they have to take it to Black London, which is like the bad one where you don't want to go. It was pretty good. I do want to continue with this series because I do like fantasy. This one I would give 3 or 4 stars out of 5. Another book I read was Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is a Caraval novel. This kind of continues right where Caraval left off, and this book focuses on the second sister, Tella. So this series is about 2 sisters. They go to this magic place, Caraval, which is like a game, circus type of thing, and they have to play it in order to get information and stuff like that. And in this book, Tella wants to find out about her mom, so she has to play this game to get more information about her mom, who's dead, missing. But I actually like this even better than Caraval, so I would definitely recommend it if you have read Caraval. So yeah, Legendary. And then the last book I read was Stay Sweet by Siobhan Vivian. This is a story about a girl, Amelia, and she is a ice cream girl at the local little ice cream shop, and the person who owns it dies, and the girls come together and they're like, you know what, we're still going to keep on doing this shop. But then the lady's grandson comes and he's like, I'm going to take over, there's going to be some changes here, and the girls don't like that, so they have to kind of find a way to work or sabotage. They're not sure what they want to do. That's what this one is about. It's a cute contemporary romance. I'd give it a 3 or 4 stars out of 5. So those are the books that I read in November. I basically had a lot of audio and just reading a lot of the month. What are some of the books that you read this last month that you enjoyed? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you like this video. Thanks for sticking it out, and like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.